Hi everyone, this is Allan McKay. Welcome to episode 81. I'm speaking with Wirginia Romanowska, the effects lead at id Software on Doom. Let's dive in.
Welcome to the Allan McKay podcast. Allan is an Emmy Award-winning visual effects artist and mentor to many leading industry experts. Listen in as Allan talks with other industry leaders in film, video games, and visual effects about their experience, lessons, and methodology. Allan will teach you pivotal advice to fast-track your career, better your skills, and reach your ultimate dream job. Check out the latest episodes on allanmckay.com.
Okay, just quickly, one of the biggest problems that we face as artists is figuring out how much we're worth. Typically, the situation is that we go into job interviews and we're asked how much we're going to charge. We either shoot ourselves in the foot by saying that we charge less than we're worth, so that way we get the gig, and indirectly end up leaving tens of thousands of dollars accumulatively over time on the table, rather than actually asking what we should be charging. At the same time, you don't want to alienate your employers by asking for too much and leaving yourself out in the cold. So what I've done is I put together a website, check it out, www.vfxrates.com, and this is a chance for you to be able to put in your experience, your discipline, the location you're working, all the good things that will give you a fairly accurate idea of what you and everyone else should be charging in your discipline. This is something that I'm going to continue to build and flesh out over time, but the key thing is actually that I don't want to just showcase how much you should be worth, but also show you and hand you the tools to grow beyond that and to learn to negotiate better, to learn to ask for the right amount of money in the right way. There's lots of additional tools and information I want to hand over to you. Everything's free. Check it out, vfxrates.com. Put in your information and you'll instantly get notified of how much money you should be charging per hour as a VFX artist. vfxrates.com. Alright, welcome to a brand new episode. So, before we get started, some really big news, something I'm really excited about. This week, actually today, depending on what time you're listening to this, I have a brand new training series I'm putting out, which is a roughly around 15 hours of free training. And I've done a few of these before, and it's always been fun because rather than just putting out like small little tutorials, usually I want to go big. I want to do something really fun and exciting. And this time I decided to resurrect an old training DVD that I made something like 13, 14 years ago and recreate that using today's technology, a lot of today's techniques, and really push the limits on what we can do. So the idea of this came from one of my students in the FXTD mentorship. He decided for fun to actually dig up the Afterburn DVD I made for CG Academy or something like that a long time ago, where we had this fireball blasting through like the main cabin inside of a plane and ripping all the chairs out and like ripping apart the plane, creating all the effects. And he was recreating that, kind of a tribute, but at the same time, just for fun. And that kind of sparked my interest a little bit to do it myself, to actually take that original concept that I created back in 2004 and really raise the bar on what we could do with that. And this is something I'm really excited about. I think it'll be a lot of fun to do. And this is free training, by the way. This is not a commercial course or anything like that at all. It's something that I want to put out throughout the next couple of weeks, roughly till about, I think, June 23, around that point. As you know, I typically put these out around the same time that I'm doing a launch. And this is actually in conjunction with the FXTD mentorship. So, not to jump around too much, but I haven't launched the mentorship in the last year and a half. So there hasn't been a chance to register and sign up in the last year and a half. So I've had so many people asking when can they subscribe, can they actually register. And kind of to celebrate that, and obviously also to bring attention to it, I wanted to put out this training too. But obviously this free training is available throughout that time also, just so that way people take the initiative to get it while they can. I think that, you know, if stuff's out there for a long time, we just bookmark it and we never actually consume it. And if you're someone who listens to a lot of these episodes, you obviously know that for me, it's all about having that call to action, you know, for us to step up and really take the initiative. So this is a chance for you if you want to grab it. Simply go to allanmckay.com/fireball. Okay. So one word, allanmckay.com/fireball. And you'll be able to get the 15 hours of training as well as a professionally built production model of the inside of a plane. So we got all the chairs, everything. We went all out, built everything up, set it up for destruction. It's going to be really cool. And there's also a lot of additional bonuses. I'm going to be releasing so much cool stuff over the next few weeks, and I have been already. The past months, okay, have been crazy, putting together so many different talks. I'm going to be doing a career intensive. The first ever public career intensive is in about 2 or 3 weeks' time. I also am doing, I'm doing a live hardware Q&A next week. I just did a Facebook Live on Friday, going behind the scenes on all the effect shots I did for the Equalizer movie. And not only showing all the render passes, discussing this live, so answering questions, all that good stuff, but also live creating recreating it all in 3D, so showing off some of the actual steps that I would do to actually do all these effects. And last episode was obviously the hardware Q&A, which was a lot of fun. There's been a lot. I'm doing a few real walkthroughs. Dan Rorty, a couple others, Matt Conway, and my buddy Dennis Mihalyons. I'm never going to say his name right. If you've listened to any of the Facebook Lives with him, there's so much cool stuff coming up. It's going to be great. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. So just a heads up, interviewing a few more people from id Software pretty soon. I've got an episode with Main Road Post coming up with the CEO, as well as interviewing the entire Creature team for Image Engine on a lot of their stuff. They do amazing work. I'm interviewing the founder of Cebus, so Edwin Brown, as well as, so much stuff. I'm interviewing immigration lawyers for the UK and for Canada. If you've ever wanted to work in Canada, I'm going to be going through all the steps to learn and understand that. I'm also interviewing a personal trainer who trains a lot of millionaire entrepreneurs who have zero time to actually, work on anything other than their business, and kind of going through a lot of life hacks, biohacks, stuff like that we can implement into what we're doing. There's so much cool stuff coming up. I'm really excited. There's lots, as well as someone from Marvel that I cannot disclose who at the moment, but there's lots of cool stuff. So I'll leave it there. But like I said, if you want to check out the free training, this is something that I've put a lot of time into. And like I said, I don't typically just put out little dribs and drabs of training. I go all in, and this is where I wanted to put out a lot of really key stuff that you can apply today in production to what you're doing for feature film quality work. So if you want to check this out and learn fluids, destruction, shot composition, setting up everything, doing your rendering, lighting, compositing, as well as dynamic and procedural animation, shader development, so much other stuff, go to allanmckay.com/fireball, and I'll leave a link in the show notes as well. So if you want to visit the show notes for this episode, simply go to www.allanmckay.com/81. Okay, so 81. All right, so let's dive in with Wirginia Romanowska. All right, well, thanks again for doing this. And do you want to give a quick introduction just to who you are and what you do and all that good stuff?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, I'm Wirginia Romanowska. I'm currently lead VFX artist at id Software. I've been always a creative person, and I've always been drawn towards computers and VFX, and the best place for me was in games. Mm-hmm. I've been working in...
Sorry, I'll just jump in and say, let's just going back to the beginning, how did you actually... Because, I've seen some of your traditional work. You've done some amazing stuff. Did you always want to be an artist growing up, or did you kind of do it in the background and then one day be like, oh, wait, I can make money from this?
No, well, it's the other way around. I've always wanted to be an artist. And as a kid, I was painting, drawing, I was sewing dresses for dolls. So cool. But my parents, they wanted me to have a solid profession. They wanted me to be engineer, because because they were afraid that as artists, there's so much competition. It's so hard to make living with this.
You'll be the starving artist that will only make money once you're dead, that sort of thing.
Especially in Poland. So this is how it ended up. Like I'm still engineer, master engineer. I finished university in Poland,
wow.
But then as soon as I could, I jumped back and I started doing art. And lucky for me, I got like hold of computer when I was about 17 years old. That was my first PC. And first thing I did, I learned 3ds Max and Photoshop, and I started using my skills to create simple website. And then it went on the indie games in Poland. And at the time when I finished university, I was ready for my first interview abroad. And literally day after I finished my thesis, I flew to England and I got job at Eurocom, and that was so my cool. first job on AAA title. It was Pirates of the Caribbean, and I started as more like generalist. I was doing modeling, texturing. VFX artists at that point in games were pretty rare, but on that title they needed a lot of help, and they asked me, do you want to do VFX? And I said absolutely. And at the time, they had only Christopher Morahan. He was very good VFX artist. He's now more like technical lead. But at the time, he gave me a lot of instruction. I learned so much from him, and it was great time.
Just to go back for a second with, I guess when you did your master's, like when you finally graduated, was everyone kind of like, okay, cool, like what are you going to do now? And it's like, I'm going to be an artist, like screw all this education I just took on. Like I'm going to go and work in video games when everyone else is doing completely different things.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there was a surprise there, because as I was on the over last 2 years of the university, I've been already doing those small gigs, those small art gigs, and they already paid gigs. So everybody knew that I kind of want to go in that direction, and I needed my master degree if I wanted to go abroad, because that kind of opened a lot of doors.
Right.
Having the education, and I have to say that it did help. My degree was in metallurgy, which is material science, and it helped a lot with what I'm doing now, like VFX, knowing how things break, knowing about burning and things like that. I still use it. It's still very useful.
I definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
And of course, math and chemistry and physics is, everywhere is the same. Any school you go to, it's the same thing.
So what about your parents? Like, did they always kind of secretly know that you're going to be an artist, but they're like, still go and get that education, or are they kind of like against you kind of pursuing your creative passion?
Only at the start, before I bought my first computer, because the money I spent on a computer, that was savings of my life. So I would get like a little bit of money from my parents every month, and I'll put it on the side. And I don't know what they would think I buy for this money, but I took it one day and I just bought a computer. And my mom was mad. She was absolutely, because I don't know, she thought I would be doing, like playing games or something. And I did play games as well. But then she didn't know I can learn from that.
Yeah.
We didn't have in Poland at the time very good schools in computer science. It wasn't very popular yet. Internet was just growing in Poland at the time, so it was all new, and not many people knew about it. Now everybody, my mom she's using Skype, she's using Photoshop, she's absolutely acquired all the technology right now. But years back, that was all new, and she didn't know what the hell is going on.
Yeah, I remember I had to get the phone line turned off at one point when I was like 14, because I didn't have internet, but I was calling up all like the bulletin board systems, which were all kind of like the thing before the internet, and we'd have to call every single time to connect, and so I was getting like $300 a month bills, and so we had to like turn the phone off, because here I am like causing all these like massive bills to come in. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of cool when you have that kind of thirst to get out there and pursue that passion. And like, I guess for you, like, did you intentionally, or did you at least acknowledge very early on, like, okay, if I go get my master's degree, then at least then that's going to help me long term with being able to, move to another country and work and things like that? Or was it more kind of like, all right, I'm just going to keep the parents happy, and but coincidentally, having that was like a really great and easy way to transition to other countries.
I think it was always at the back of my mind. And the strange thing is that we had English lessons in school, but they were not very practical. They were more based on learning from the book and, just doing the exercises, not really talking, listening. So I knew those were useless. And I just wanted to take from it what I will be using in the future, and I think I did. I thought about it at the back of my mind that those years of school will be useful at some point.
That's cool.
I wasn't sure like what is going to be exactly, but I knew I will use it at some point, and it was great. It was worth it.
That's cool. That's awesome. And what about like when you first went to Eurocom? Was that kind of nerve-wracking? Like, I was just talking with an artist yesterday who moved from Germany, and she went to London to go work for a frame store, and same sort of thing. It's just like this is your first project, like your first full-time gig, I assume, and to be moving to like another location, even if it is like within like Europe, it's still it's not the same as like, okay, I'm gonna go work down the street. It's like I'm making a commitment. I'm moving there. This is my new life, and if it's a big gig, then was that a bit nerve-wracking to kind of walk in there and
Absolutely.
be like, I hope this works out?
Yeah, absolutely. So my interview at Eurocom, I don't know how did it happen that they hired me, but I couldn't say a word. I brought my portfolio, my demo reel, mostly made of whatever I was doing in Poland, the small gigs, and then I added on top of that my personal projects I've been working on, which was more like 3D rendered real-time stuff, and I showed them the portfolio and they really liked it, but I was so stressed I couldn't say a word. They show me a few things they're doing, and I guess I expressed how excited I am and they like that too, and this is when they hired me, but it was very stressful. The thing that always makes me calmer about moving to another country is that if things don't work out, something goes wrong, or I get like culture shock or something, I can always go back. Like, door is not closed there. Like, there's safety and family and probably some kind of jobs in Poland too, Like, I can go back in there always. Door is open. But as long as I'm happy to explore anywhere else, that's a lot of fun.
That's cool. I mean, yeah, I think it's great if you have that kind of safety net, so that way it's like, all right, it's kind of like when you move out of home for the first time. If you come from a family that has a house and everything else, then you've got that freedom of like, okay, if it doesn't work out, then I can always go back home. And, same thing when it comes to work and everything. It's like, well, give it a shot and make the most of it, but see how it all pans out, and worst case, then go back for a bit and build a new plan. But that's cool. And for you, did you have a lot of growth at that company? Like, how long were you there for?
I've been there for a year and a half, maybe. We shipped Pirates of the Caribbean, and then it was time to move. Me and one of my friends, we got like really good opportunity at the BlackRock studio, which was just bought by Disney, and they've been looking for VFX artists to do what they presented to me as fantastic idea, fantastic game, cars driving and everything explodes. So it's like a racing game with explosions, which is split second, and I love the idea. And I went there for the interview, and they absolutely loved everything I'd done before, and they wanted a lot of explosions, and all my personal work at the time was explosions, so they really liked it. So
that's awesome.
And that was a great team. One of the best teams I worked at, with very talented people. Great project. We had so much fun. We've been playtesting the game every evening. It was just fun. I learned so much. And at the end of that project, they wanted me to be a lead VFX artist. We needed another person to help, and I got to work with a very good VFX artist, Thor Heighton. He didn't need me to be his lead. He seriously did all the job. Like, anything I would tell him, he would do like just perfectly. Didn't need reviews or anything. It was really good. good VFX team. And the game was fantastic. It was really sad when Disney closed the studio after the project shipped. I would have probably not left that studio if not Disney closing it. And from there, I was looking for something different, something new. Again, I wanted to try maybe different countries, something absolutely different culture. And I had the opportunity at Ubisoft Singapore. Few people who I used to work with at BlackRock Studio start working there, and I got really good recommendations. So I moved to Singapore. Singapore team was really good in a way
what
that.
What was the job interview like? Did you
just on the phone? Just yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was much more confident by then, definitely. And at that time, I did quite a few interviews. So when that came in, I was ready to talk.
So just to, which is awesome, by the way, but like just to talk about that for a second. So like, do you think when you were initially nervous about the interviews, was it because you just weren't experienced with doing job interviews, and that's why after doing more you got better, or was it because you felt a lot more competent after having like a resume of stuff showing your work? Like, what do you think was the thing that made you feel less nervous about it?
So few things. One, definitely not doing many interviews makes me more nervous. And the other thing is that, speaking in English on a phone especially on a phone, is much harder than in person, because you don't get the reaction of the person you talk to. So I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, because I can't tell. And of course, my accent is not perfect, and many people.
What accent?
Don't. That's a good one.
See what I did?
Many people, even here in a restaurant, I sometimes order a thing and I get completely different thing because they just didn't understand what I said. And it doesn't happen to my, American friends. They order a thing and they get exactly what they ask for. So
I'll interrupt for 1 second. Say that I have found it kind of interesting that and when I generalize about America, I'm not talking about everyone in America, but I have found here that a lot of other countries, if someone doesn't understand you, they will try to figure out what it is that you're trying to say. And I've found it pretty consistent here. I don't have this issue, but it's more hanging out with my friends. Like I've got a good friend, Lewis at ILM, and I want to get him on the podcast at some point. I'm pretty sure he'll say, no, my accent sucks, I can't come on. But he's from, I think he's from Barcelona in Spain. And when he first moved to the States, he didn't speak much English, but he got a lot better, a lot quicker. And like 5 years of living in the States, like he was very easy to understand. But there were times where, like, let's say with him, he would speak, and instead of thinking for a second, like, what is he trying to say, it would always be like, I can't understand you, speak clearer. And but it wasn't like one or two incidences. This is like everywhere I went, many different people. I've just found like, and maybe it is more California, but I've just found that people have a bit less patience for trying to figure out what you're trying to say. Whereas like other countries, you might say, well, do you mean this, or what about this, or whatever. And even like going to Japan, which I've got, I've experienced some racism in Japan, being, a gaijin, being like an outsider, being white. But at the same time, like I meet so many amazingly nice people who don't speak any English, which is fine, but they'll, like, you ask them where is something, they will walk for like 10 minutes to that thing and show you where it is, rather than even trying to communicate to you or whatever. But here at least I've found kind of a little bit of, if someone doesn't get you, they're like, what did you say? Instead of like, well, do you mean this? Do you mean this? Let me try and figure it out. And so it's just one of those things that it's the interpretation is a little bit different, I think, in some countries than others, of like how they deal with information they don't know, I guess. I don't know. I'm going on a rant.
No, you're absolutely right. And I'm trying to get better with, articulating what I'm saying clearly. But in a heat of
American. Like, honestly, I sound like, if I go back to Australia now, people will be like, yeah, mate, so whereabouts are you from in the States? And I'm like, oh God, I'm from, yeah. So I think maybe that's it. Maybe that's why I don't have the problem anymore, because I sound too American.
Yeah, definitely. You keep learning the not just the language, but the dialect more and more of people who you're hanging out with. So it all depends. But going back to the interviews, definitely doing more interviews, preparing to answer, like most common questions. That helps. And generally having many options. Like for me, when I search for a job, I always try to have few interviews, not just one option, because if there's one place, one company I really want to work for, and that's my only option, and I fail, I feel more stressful about doing that interview.
Too much weighing on it.
But then if I have a line like 4 interviews with all great companies and I'm open to whatever counts best and where they like me most, and then I'm calmer, and thanks to that, they just not only interview me, but I can watch their reaction. I can tell, okay, do they really care about interviewing me? Do they interview me for like 30 minutes and they, okay, see ya? Or did they interview me for 3 hours with different people and took me for lunch and just, that's really interesting. They interested actually not only what I do in my portfolio, but who I am, which is again completely different conversation when you're being hired.
Just to jump around for a second on that subject, because I've never experienced that except in video games. But like, how many of those like 7-hour job interviews have you been to where it's like,
I've been to
here is a schedule of the 18 people who are going to talk to you, and there's a lunch break in the middle of the job interview.
That's the longest interview I've been to was 3 days long interview. 3 days, yeah. They paid for a hotel and for stay for me for 3 days plus a weekend, and literally I went to the office for 3 days, and I kind of worked with them, like showing them what I would do, how this would work, what can we do better, looking at the game. So it was very long interview, and at the end they did want to hire me, and it was a great experience to meet those people. But I said no, because like I had other awesome things, and it's always hard to choose. It's also very, very hard to choose, especially when you start talking with people for longer, like you said, 7 hours or 3 days, and you meet those people, and people, from like LinkedIn, and you see their portfolios, like, oh, they are great people, they are directors and leads, and they did great stuff, and they work on so many titles, and it's awesome. And then you meet them in person, and they like nice people, actually, not, like humble, nice people. And then you think, actually, maybe it would be nice to work with them.
Maybe that's one of those like tricks of there's a few psychological tests that get run where it's like kind of essentially the more time you invest into something, the more you're like, all right, well, I might as well go with this one now because I've given like 3 days of my life to it. I don't want to waste. I don't want to waste these 3 days, so I might as well just take the job. So maybe that's what they do is they weigh you down.
That's one way of looking at it. But when doing interview, as I said, it's not just they asking me questions and they looking at my portfolio. I also look like what they are working on now. Is that something that stands a chance of shipping, or did they ship any titles in the past, or is this the first title in like 20 years? How this is going to work? Do I believe in the design ideas? So it's many factors, and at the end, I usually find myself actually really like looking at people the most, like, are those people clever and why they are here? If they are here, they of course know more than me, and I like those people, then I would consider being there good as well.
That's cool. And I guess like transitioning from, I might loop back to the interview stuff later again, because I do think it is, it's such a important subject, and everyone gets nervous about job interviews, but it's not like many people, like there's usually not much information about it because it's always going to be the generic stuff like prepare for your interview and wear a suit or something. But like even acknowledging that like people get nervous, it's normal. I think that means a lot to a lot of people, just to be like, okay, good, it's not just me. So maybe we'll talk a bit more about that. But like I did find it interesting that you initially did start out as an environment artist and then switched to effects, and your environments are brilliant. So I always thought that's kind of cool that you were really good at one thing, but you must have had a passion for effects. Did you get any resistance when you wanted to switch? Or are they like, yeah, go for it?
No,
blow up the environments instead of making.
No, absolutely, yeah, because there's less effects artists than environment artists, and usually in every team you have like 10, 20 environment artists, and you have 1, 2, 3 FX artists, so it's less of those people. So I didn't meet any resistance. Everywhere I go, they would rather want me to be VFX artist than environment artist. What I find difficult with environment artists is, well, of course, competition. If you go on ArtStation, it just blows my head off every time I look at this stuff.
Then you find out they're like 19 years old or something too, which just it's really intimidating.
Yes, and I'm just like, oh yeah, maybe I could model some, but where do I find time again for that? Like that's just crazy. And the other thing is that I like thinking about problems and solving problems. And in environment art, there is, don't get me wrong, there is some of that too. Like I sat down and I think, okay, I'm going to model a church or cloister, and I figure out math of the arcs and all that. And I have one section modeled, and from there, it's just like just hard work. You just have to finish the project. There's no more problem solving. You just have to do the work, and that's going to take a certain amount of time. And this is where I'm not patient enough.
I'm the same way. I will say that, like, in the very beginning of my career, you know, I started as a generalist, and like the more effects work I got, the more I'm like, oh wow, I can actually do this for a living. Like, instead of being happy when I got effects stuff, it was like, wow, I could actually do effects for a living. This is awesome. But I always kept my modeling up because I felt I needed a backup plan just in case like effects dried up or something. Because, you know, for us, like, we can understand this, but for some people it might be like, you know, that's absurd. There's plenty of effects work. But like back in the day, you were a 3D person, you know, and you and I both know that. And so, you know, I always kept my modeling up, and I always was good at characters and hard surface modeling. But I remember like probably 10 years ago, I needed to model some stuff, and I started, and I'm like, I don't have the patience for this. This is like a day or two of actual work, rather than, you know, I don't even want to set keyframes anymore. I just want to, you know, just make everything procedural, just plug it in. So it's like, all right, like plug it into this time value and multiply it by 3, done, move on. So.
This is why Houdini for me has such big appeal. If I model anything from now on or animate anything, it's going to be procedural in Houdini. Because that this is a part where I like you solve a problem, you make a tool, and then you just bring any asset, and the tool makes it work for you. Hopefully.
I do like that approach. Like, let's say if you're building a building or something like that, anything that's got a lot of repetition, and, you know, you can, or anything, just be able to disable certain things. I like that even with Max's modify stack back in the day. It's a lot more linear, but the fact that you could turn things off, so you could model a hand and then go and detail it all. And then if like you weren't happy and you wanted to step back a bit, you could. And like Maya had history, which worked a little bit, but it wasn't quite the same. And so, you know, I've always liked that approach of having a more of a modular, like, modeling approach. I would always rename all my edit mesh stacks, so that way, you know, I could turn them off. I knew what every single one of them did. If I wanted to like turn off the nose model or something, I would turn that bit off and it goes back. But yeah, I mean, I think it's really cool. And yeah, actually, I remember that when you're doing all my courses, the one thing that set you aside was that most people will go and do the effects from the lesson, but you would go do the effects and you would make like a killer environment for the effects to be in and light all that. And suddenly you'd be like, holy crap, like the effects are great, but like the whole shot just stands out. So yeah, it was really surprising kind of just seeing you put that much work into something, whereas sadly some other people might, you know, just follow the lesson and not really take it the extra step. And I think that's where you really learn something, is when you actually make it your own. And so that always kind of stood out to me, is like, wow, like, yeah, I really like how you've always approached that.
Yeah, I like doing any kind of tutorials when I can +1 it, because then, yeah, I feel like I learned more, and I feel like it's more mine. I don't feel ashamed to post it on YouTube and say I did this thing, because it, you know, it doesn't look like 100,000 other tutorials, things people did before. It's mine, because it's slightly different. It has this +1, and I learned more, and of course
+2. Come on.
and I learned more, and of course there are things that I meet more obstacles than other people, because of course when you follow a tutorial, do exactly what's been said, then you most probably just finish and you're just like, okay, I'm done now. But then if you try to do it differently or try to add something to it, you see like, oh, I can't do that. Why is this not working? Why is this crashing? Why is this broken? And you start asking those questions, which are great to ask when you're doing like a workshop, because this is when you learn.
Mm-hmm. No, that's awesome. That's really cool. And so when you went on to Ubisoft, was it just time for you to kind of like, try something different and move to a different country? Or actually, sorry, I'm jumping around. Like, yeah, so was that in Singapore?
Yeah, first was Singapore, but yeah, Singapore culturally was not my cup of tea. And after the shipping the Assassin's Creed 3, which was great. I mean, I was so proud of the ocean tech we worked on. It was fantastic. Mm-hmm. But after that, I talked with my art director and I asked. I knew at the time first trailers for Watch Dogs were showing up, and I knew they're looking for VFX artists at Ubisoft Montreal. So I talked with my art director, and he said, "Yeah, like if you want to go, we just make some calls and you go." And this is exactly what happened. It took maybe like a month from point when I wanted to go to point when I had the visa in my passport and I could go to Canada. So it's really fast transfer, and it was really nice transfer. Ubisoft transfers people very smoothly, and I started work in a new team, which was Watch Dogs team. They gathered 5 VFX artists almost at the same time, year before shipping. Everybody came together and we started working together. And it was, at start was a little bit crazy because, of course, it's not like with any other Ubisoft brand when, they know what they're doing. They're shipping Assassin's Creed Nth and Far Cry Nth, so they know exactly what they're doing. That was a new IP. It was, a group of most talented people in a company coming together and trying to figure this out. So this is one of the reasons probably why the game was slightly delayed in shipping, but we did it at the end of the day. And honestly, that was one of the best projects I worked on because I felt like effects wise, I knew all the assets, I knew what's happening, I knew all the tools I needed to know. I felt very in control, although I wasn't leading the team or anything like that, but I felt like I have my eyes on every single VFX piece in the game. I felt like it was quite polished. So I did like it for that. And awesome. On Doom, it was slightly different because, again, I joined the team year before shipping. And
why do you keep doing this?
This is very popular thing.
It's always like, when's the game coming out? Oh, 2 years. Okay, I'll call you in a year. Okay, cool.
Yes. This is how most companies tries to hire VFX artists. Like when they realize, okay, we have environments, we have our characters and AI, we have gameplay. Wait, something is missing. Oh, we don't have VFX. Let's hire somebody now. And then it takes, a few weeks to figure out who's going to be. And then it takes another few weeks to get visas to people. And then it's year before shipping. So
I remember when you were just about to go work there. I forget. I know we were talking at the time. So I remember that and being like pretty kind of really happy for you. Also a little bit jealous secretly, like, not secretly, but like there's always that part of me has always been obsessed with Doom, and I'm like, I really want to work on it, but at the same time, I need to like split myself into 5 if I ever want to work on everything that I do want to work on. But yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I remember like you were saying you are a big Doom fan. You had the arcade machine.
Yeah, that's my awesome. Fiance. She designed, like, I bought an arcade machine as a bit of a gift to myself at one point after like 10 years of wanting it and not buying it. And yeah, as like a Christmas present, she wrapped the entire thing because she wraps vehicles for a living, right? So she used vinyl and like designed the whole thing. So
that's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. So the only funny thing is, like, whenever I get a pizza delivered or something, you get like the pizza guy look in and see an arcade machine and be like, "You have Doom on the arcade?" And I feel like being like, "No," as if I wish, like, you can't get Doom on the arcade. Although I did go to an arcade in Tokyo once, and they had Doom 3 on the arcade machine. Like, you had a gun you could shoot. Anyway, this is one of those funny things. But yeah, I mean, I will say, like, I was nerding out with Hugo about this, Hugo Martin, about like in a way that's how I kind of got started in computer art, was playing Wolfenstein and Doom and replacing all the graphics, and I actually had a 286, so I couldn't play Doom. So I started replacing all the graphics of Wolfenstein to look like Doom. So,
Right.
it's this really stupid, nerdy thing I was doing. I was like 11 or something at the time. But yeah, bit by bit, I kind of got interested because I wanted to be into games back then. And yeah, and like that kind of was the thing that got me going, was modifying games. And, then Quake came out, and then I worked on Half-Life, and I went down like the game route for a good 5 years. Yeah. But that's cool. And with Ubisoft, did you find like any friction moving departments? Like, I know you said that they move people smoothly, but at the same time, like, when you communicate to one local company, like, hey, I want to go work in a different office, if you're a valuable asset, like, even though they want to do the right thing, there's usually going to be a bit of resistance. It's like, no, we want to keep you for ourselves. Like, do you find that they were all pretty supportive, or kind of like, well, why do you want to leave us? Or was it just like a good time to go?
So from my experience, it depends from person to person. It's different. For me, it was quite easy. I think it was a good time to leave because the project ended and we shipped the game. And the other thing is they always get people from Montreal wanting to move to Singapore too. So it's
Really?
it's a motion both ways, because people
It's too cold.
it's too cold, and people want to try to living in the tropical countries. So
I guarantee they go to Singapore, and then by June they're like, all right, I want to go back.
Yeah,
that place is insane.
it's hot.
Yeah,
it's really hot. But Asia is beautiful. Generally, from Singapore you can fly anywhere, and it's great. Singapore is a great hub for vacations, for travel around Asia.
great food too, and a really good business city. So, and you're right, like it's usually the stopover point for a lot of places. So like you could fly from there to anywhere, and it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, for me, move was easy. Ubisoft has a special relocation team. They make sure that when you arrive in your hotel at the destination, you get a basket with food. It's really nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, you're exhausted because it's a 12-hour time difference between Singapore and Montreal, and flight is usually like 32 hours or something with change. So you're exhausted when you arrive, and there's like a nice hotel room with food waiting. So it's very cool. It's
cool.
very comforting.
Who were actually? What hotel did they put you in?
That was Trilon, actually, because this is it. I didn't fly for interview. They just trusted that on the phone conversation is enough. Because it was transferring. So they transferred me to Trilon. It's like a longer term where I could, they paid rent for like 2 months. So in the meantime, I could search for apartment.
That's awesome. And I was going to say, like, who are the effects artists you work with that you can remember?
At Ubisoft Montreal.
Yeah, I know so many people at Ubisoft, but I'm terrible with names. So like, but in terms of effects, there's a couple of guys there. I went and partied like for a couple of days with them at one point, and we had a lot of crazy nights out.
Honestly, I know most of them because when I was there, I was the one who organized like VFX drinks every few Fridays. So there's a
you're me, in other words. That's awesome.
Sometimes. There's a bar. I don't know if you know. There's a bar Waverly just across from Ubisoft, and this is where all the Ubisoft kind of drinks are happening. 5 to 7 they call it, and I used to grab everybody at Ubisoft, and that was fascinating. That was amazing about work at Ubisoft Montreal. That and nowhere in the world you could meet with 20 plus VFX artists that work in game, that work in the same company. It just doesn't happen, because usually in a team you would have 1, maybe to 5, and that's it. Like you don't talk to those people too often. I mean, not to like 20 of them. So it's just 5 people. But yeah, those drinks, that was great because we could get everybody from all the teams, and we could just talk about, everything, work related things, not work related, VFX, anything. So it was very cool. I know almost everybody over there. I mean, they, hire new people as well. So probably it's been a few years, but the closest on the project on Watch Dogs, I worked on with Matthew Dufresne. He was our lead VFX artist. He joined from the cinematic department. He had tons of experience as a manager, and that was Watch Dogs was actually his first game title he shipped, because previously he's been doing just cinematics. And then there was a bunch of very cool guys. Some of them don't work anymore at Ubisoft, unfortunately. Like some of them, Santa Monica. People always going back. There is one person I want to mention. He did one of not many resources you can learn from about game VFX. He did like a DVD you can still buy somewhere. It's Maxime Deleris. He's a really cool guy too. Very, very humble.
So what's his name again?
Maxime.
Yep.
Yeah. You know him? Yeah.
Not personally, but I was going to say Maxime is such a Montreal, a French Canadian name.
Yes.
But Maxime, what's his last name?
Deleris. Delery. I probably don't speak French well enough to say that, so I'm not going to even try.
Cool. Well, I'll try and track down his stuff and put a link in the show notes.
Yeah. It's quite old video, but I think it's still valuable. It's like Unreal stuff, how to do VFX in Unreal and how to render textures. It's pretty cool stuff. Cool. Of course, now you get more and more resources. He was one of the first who put that stuff out, actually.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and we worked at Ubisoft. There were so many people who were coming from movie industry. I think that was in time where VFX artists in movies, in film, realize that they can actually work in games and can be successful, and they can gain stability that game industry gives that doesn't always exist in film.
Yeah, it's becoming a pretty common thing. I mean, again, you look at Jason and Hugo, but they both came from Blur, and it's just like when I popped down and saw you, I was down there because one of my buddies, he was also from Blur, and he was thinking about jumping ship, and so he eventually did, but he was looking at id as one of those options. So yeah, I mean, I think that is one of those things that a lot of us are realizing, like, hey, I'm getting a bit older, and I don't like doing overtime every week, and now, I don't mind doing overtime, but yeah, I'd like to have like a bit more stability and a bit more calm here and there. So games is definitely, you've got a 3-year turnaround on most projects, whereas on film, like, it might be 3 weeks. You never know. So it's definitely becoming a bit of a popular thing for the older crowd to be like, all right, I need more stability. What's next? Instead of burning out.
Yeah, and there's definitely more full-time work rather than contract. I know film hires a lot contract people, and then you always have to worry what's next, what's going to be my next contract, where I'm going to have to move next, because probably I'm going to have to move cities or countries or something. Whereas in games, like, people keep the same spot for 8, 10, 15 years, and they happy, they have families, and it's fine. Yeah.
That's cool. And how did the software opportunity come up?
So this is the thing with Ubisoft, that after shipping Watch Dogs, I really wanted to either be in a team that has more time to shipping, not just a year to shipping, and do some pre-production work and enjoy that time a little bit. But Ubisoft had another project line up for me, and they transferred me immediately to Far Cry. So I did that, and then I asked them, okay, can I go to like a smaller project? They were working at the time on Child of Light, but that spot was for VFX already taken, so there was nothing but just go to another team that ships in 1 year. And I was really tired and exhausted, and I thought, okay, this is going to be like that forever, just year after year shipping a new product, which is it's great if you want to learn a lot, it's great if you want to enrich your portfolio. In 3 years shipping 3 games is just incredible. Ubisoft is one of not many places that you can do that. But after a while, I really wanted to, as I said, like, sit down and do some research and maybe render something, do like a personal project. And to do that, you can't do overtime in that time. There's just no way to marry the two. You can't work, 12 hours a day and then go home and render something cool at home. It's just not going to work. So yeah, I started looking for another different job, and I went to many interviews in about like 2 months. I had like 10 interviews. I flew all over Europe and the United States and everywhere, and it was at the end very hard to choose where do I go, and I think each team just had that secret ingredient. They were very excited about product they working. They were very honest about it. They were humble. They were not, trying to just like sell it already to me. They were just like, we think this is going to work. We think this is a good idea, but we need more people to polish this, make this great. And hopefully fans are going to like this. I really like that. And I thought that's a good place for me to be. And they had only one VFX artist, and I had the opportunity to talk with him at the interview as well. It was Derek Best. And he did almost like everything in that game till moment I joined.
You in the interview and like be like, get out while you still can.
No, he's the nicest guy ever. He's like the nicest person to work with ever.
There's 3 of you there now, or is there more?
So there are more. There's Derek, and then there is Todd Boyce. He joined again from film as well. Mm-hmm. He's our Houdini expert. And then there is also Mark Edwards, and he used to be an environment artist, and we really needed help, like again, a few months before shipping Doom, and he said, "Okay, I can help," and he really liked it, and now he's like full-time VFX artist as well. So there are 4 of us now, which is much better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I imagine it's a bit of a transition though, going from Montreal to Dallas.
Yes, it's different. It's absolutely. I mean, it's good because Montreal is still a little bit like North America, a little bit. It's half European.
Oh, you have cowboys and fried chicken. And...
Well, now it's completely 100% American. I mean, what I like about here is are again people like they nice but honest. If you know what I mean, like most even strangers
down south are really friendly.
Yeah, but they honest. They're not friendly like fake friendly. They really honest people. Yep. So if they see somebody stealing something or doing something wrong on the street, they'll call police. They're not gonna like be nice. That's fine.
I thought they just shoot you.
Oh, yes, yeah. That's the Texan way.
I just moved to Portland, Oregon, not too long ago, and like the first thing I said when we were up here looking at houses, Christina, my fiance, I was saying like, don't be like freaked out if people are like really friendly, because I love California to death, but at the same time, like LA, you can't deny it, no matter how much you try and defend LA. Like there is definitely a persona about it. Like I love it, and I have like the most amazing friends, but at the same time, like most people, I feel like 80% of the people you meet, when you meet them, you're only meeting the surface of them. Like you don't really get to know who they are. It's very much like there's different layers of it, but it's quite different. Whereas you got to kind of find your circle that then you can find like really amazing people in, and it's awesome. But if you go out to bars or just in general, it's usually kind of just you're not gonna have deep conversations about like who they are, you know what I mean? And in Dallas, like the first time I ever went, I was speaking. Actually, I met John Carmack and all those guys. Cool. Who obviously aren't there anymore, but I had dinner actually with the art director of id. I never told you this, but I got probably I think it was 2009, 2010. I got approached for the art director position on Doom. This is like the original, yeah.
How did you not take it?
Well, that's the thing is like part of me was like I know I would rock it, even though I'm like I don't consider myself an art director in the slightest, but I knew me being so obsessed with that more than anything. So much so I actually bought like the strategy guide for Doom 1 the other day just because I remember like reading so much about it. Like I just love the visuals. So, I knew that part of me would just by having that obsession with it would do an amazing job, but I felt like there'd be people who were way more qualified, as just being like really fucked up artists who
No.
have like really dark ideas and that's all they do. So I figured there'd be some really amazing people out there who could totally rock that job. And but it was a privilege just to even be considered. But I ended up having dinner with the art director, and we were chatting about that. It's the old art director, obviously, but yeah, I got to meet the whole team there and have dinner with everyone, and really cool bunch of people. Just in general, like going out in Dallas, like everyone's just really friendly. Everyone's like really down to earth, so it's cool.
They really do value people being passionate about Doom. So that's definitely like if you come for anybody, if they come for interview to eat, they will be asked, "Did you play Doom? How many maps? Did you play DLC? Did you see that? What did you think about this?" So they will.
I know the cheat codes. I know everything. I can tell you. Yeah. Like
awesome.
It's cool though. I mean, I think it's good because I've seen some companies that like I can say this, like Riot makes League of Legends, and they are very strict on the interview process. That if you apply at Riot, like I went there for some stuff that they're doing that's not game related that I can't talk about, but that was one of the things when I left was like they're like, we really want to hire you, we really want to work with you, really excited. The only thing is that you need to create an account on League of Legends and get your score up to at least 18 or something. We're serious. And they're like, it's not us, it's HR, and like you have to do it. I'm not joking, we all had to do it. And it was just like, okay, I've still never played the game ever, but it was just kind of interesting to see that. But like I completely understand that you want people who are passionate about what they do, and if you are obsessed with something, you're going to put your heart and soul into it rather than just like, all right, this is my job, clock in, clock out. So I think that's very valuable to, if you got people who believe in what you're doing,
Yeah, it definitely helps when you're working on it, and you have a choice, like do whatever you need to do and go home, or go step through there. And if you're passionate about what you're doing, you will take that step. And overall, when you hire people like that, you get a better product. So, and they're happier too, because being forced to work 8 hours on something you don't like, that sounds like nightmare. So, so of course they prefer to hire people who are happy about work there. So they stay happy, and that way everybody benefits.
I've heard really amazing things from, like I've interviewed one of the lead character artists at Bethesda, as well as Hugo and I were talking about too. Like both id and Bethesda seem like really amazing companies to work for. Like have you found that to be the same way?
Bethesda, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we definitely we collaborate with those guys a lot, and we always look up to them and what they're doing. Like with Fallout, it's pretty amazing. We always get all the games, all Bethesda or ZeniMax does. We always get them, and we always play them, and we take ideas from each other. And this is why ZeniMax is such a great company, because even if someone works here at id and doesn't like Texas, they can move and work for Bethesda in DC, and it's fine. Like and we had people moving departments, and it's absolutely valid and fine.
Do they say DC instead of Maryland just to make it sound more appealing?
I don't know. Maybe I just said that. I have no idea.
Because like one of my buddies, actually, he's the one who came down to id for the meetup. He's originally from Baltimore, and the way he describes it is like, have you seen The Wire? And he's like, yeah, it's still like that, So it's like, all right, cool, okay, good to know. I want to go down there at some point just to catch up with all those guys, but yeah, at least my buddy Chris never paints the greatest picture of Baltimore or that area, but they're in Maryland, which it's like right next to DC, I guess. I need to learn my geography better, but But yeah, it's pretty cool. Like the more I've learned about Bethesda, it's just like, all right, like as a publisher, it sounds like everyone under their umbrella gets like treated really well, and the way it kind of works, the synergy between all the companies, it kind of means that there's no, without getting the details, at least with what the guys have shared, But like, yeah, it sounds like they've figured out a few ways to make it so that way there's no real competition. Like everyone's happy and wanting everyone to succeed, rather than it being like, well, we're this game company and those other ones suck or whatever, and having that competitive thing, when you're all on the same team. So everything I've heard about them has just kind of made me think like, wow, that's so cool. So I think it's really great.
They are great. I don't know how much I can talk about it, but I could just mention they're great about they let teams cooperate. So there's no like official competition between the different teams. Just whatever technology is the best, we share it and we use it, and we integrate, different pieces and bits. Whatever different teams need gets taken and integrated, and it helps. It saves time. They make sure there's no big egos about that, where it's not always true with other companies, but at Bethesda try to share technology, share ideas, art, anything that can save us time and make us more creative. So it's great.
Cool. And like for you, this is your number one job interview question. Did you play Doom as when you were younger? Were you familiar with the IP?
This is it. I didn't, because my first computer, my first PC, I got when I was 17, and at that time, the only Doom that came out after that was the scary one, which I really didn't want to play.
Which is a scary one, like Doom 3?
Yes.
Why is that one scary and the other ones weren't?
I don't know, because it's the first realistic look, and the sound was scary. Like I remember at the time my ex-boyfriend was playing Doom 3, and I was scared just listening to it. just scary like hell. The noises the monster were doing, and the banging on the door or behind the wall, I have it in my ears now, and it's still scary to me. So I was so happy when I seen the new Doom 2016. We worked on it's not supposed to scare you. It's supposed to be, over the top and fun and weird and silly sometimes. And you should feel like a boss when killing the demons. So I was so happy to see that, because this is so much more interesting to me, making player feel like player rules, Rob.
Did you say you'll feel like a boss when you kill demons?
Yeah. Sure, I do. You know that moment when you get haste, or when you get and you start running around and punching everything. It's just amazing. There's no other game that do that.
I love it. It's one of those games that it's so rich in terms of content, but at the same time, it doesn't need the story. It doesn't need any of that. It does have it, but it's more about just go with fun. And I think that's always kind of been the underlying message with the whole thing. And what Hugo was saying about push forward combat. It's always about just moving forward, having fun, progressing, and not really stopping and running away or having to think too much. It's just have fun with it. So I think that's been really successfully executed.
Yeah, that was the genius of Hugo and Marty and many other designers, that many people are thinking we have all those beautiful games as a competition with story, with narrative and everything, and we kind of have narrative, but it's more like clues and things Doom Marine does and things that happen. It's not much, talking or face-to-face talking or anything like that. And we think, how this is going to work? But overall, at the end, it was great, and people understood, absolutely everybody understood what's happening and what's going on. Everything was communicated, and people actually liked it. So I was very happy.
You sound actually as if they're surprised, oh my god, people actually like this game. I'm kidding.
About narrative, right?
I'm totally joking.
Just about that.
But I mean, it's such a huge IP that especially for games, did you ever feel that kind of weight on your shoulders of if I mess this up, someone's gonna blow my car up or something in the parking lot? Someone's gonna be pretty upset. So just because it's got such a huge fan base going back, and I think it's more because it's not just people are fans of Doom. It's kind of like your childhood in a way. A lot of people kind of grew up with it, and then it stays where it was. It's I watched RoboCop last night, and it just kind of brings me back to when I was a kid watching it, which I shouldn't have been watching. But yeah, it's part of your childhood or nostalgia growing up. So do you ever feel that kind of weight on your shoulders of how important this project was to a lot of people?
And yeah, I mean, definitely there is responsibility, and there are many aspects of that. I think the biggest weight on shoulders is like always designers, because the game is either fun or it's not, and they get blamed if it's not. And everything really goes from there, because for me, with all the effects I do, or most of the effects I do, I always talk with designers. We look at each weapon and we say, what do we want this weapon to do and how we want this to be communicated. And how we want this to communicate it is a lot to do with VFX. So with those weapons, some of them we iterated, more than 10 times on with VFX. So doing VFX, testing it in a game, looking at it, thinking about it, talking about it, and changing it again, and testing it again. And, process like that, it takes a long time. And at the end, you just run out of time. And of course, you have to ship the game. But it is responsibility. And then you look at the final product, and there are so many things I wish, like, I wish I did that better, or I wish I had more time for this and that. Oh, I missed this completely. It's like not done properly or something. But at the end of the day, yeah, it counts what fans say, right? Like if they don't say anything about VFX, that means it's good. Yeah, it means they understand what's happening, because that's the most important thing. The VFX don't get in the way. They don't obscure the view. They don't look awful. They don't look broken. And that's good. If they say something looks good, then that's like amazing. That really stands up. So yeah, like I'm trying always to do the best I can, but I have to say, without help or communication with other people, especially designers, I wouldn't be able to iterate or do those things. So at the same time, I don't want to say it's their responsibility, but a lot of weight is on their shoulders, and I can support them, any way I can, and as long as there's time and they want to cooperate, we can, redo the same gun as many times as it takes to make it perfect. And some of the DLC stuff for Doom, I feel, because we had more time per map and per gun and per AI, it came out much, much more polished and more interesting and more on spot. And I wish we had the time for the whole game as well. Now we have more VFX artists, so, and with next project, whatever that's going to be, hopefully we will be better. Like, we'll have more resources to take care of everything.
Yeah, no, I think it's so cool, and like I do feel that effects has become a bit, a lot more integral part of everything these days. Like, at least kind of looking at I used to work next to LucasArts, and they're working on, I forget the name of it now. My friends are going to kill me, but like it was a Star Wars game. I think it got canceled, but just looking at all the tech that they were developing for that was really interesting. And then at the same time, Tomb Raider coming out not long after, and just bit by bit noticing a lot of games that suddenly it would be about adding like way more effects to everything, and it might be like more the environment effects and everything else, but it definitely changed the feel of, like, usually with video games you would have a giant box room that you're in and it's completely empty, and suddenly by adding in fog and atmosphere and little other kind of atmospheric effects everywhere, it would make the environment, the whole feeling, a lot more rich, and it would feel less like you're in this polygonal room and more in like a proper immersive environment. And when you work on movies, it's so subtle, but like there's so much of that stuff going on. You'll go on and you'll haze down the entire set to kind of get this very light, misty fog, even in like a regular shot, like you're talking in a kitchen at nighttime or whatever. Just you don't want this like flat feeling to a room, so there's always depth that goes into lighting and making a shot look really good that you don't know it even happens when you're watching a movie, but like it's all there. And now I start to see a lot of that in video games, where it's more, it might be a massive quantity of like smaller effects and then some of the big effects, but all of that together, it breaks it away from just having like these are the walls and the ceiling and the floor, and suddenly it's so much more rich and so much more organic.
It definitely makes game more alive, because if you stop moving and you don't have anything attacking you, it just nothing moves. It looks completely dead. But if there are like effects in the background, you know, like embers and fog, as you said, it looks like game is still running. It didn't crash or freeze on your screen.
Yeah.
Something is going on. And yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. In movies, there's practically no single shot where it wasn't touched by VFX even a little bit. And the same is happening now with games. Absolutely everything requires VFX, and people don't think about it. People don't think that when they, I don't know, reload a gun. When you're shooting a gun, it's obvious you have a muzzle flash, and that's VFX. But when you're reloading a gun, you don't even think that there are like 3 little lights lighting up one by one, and that's telling you when you will be ready to shoot a gun again. And you don't think those are VFX. Somebody had to go in and put light by light in and make sure they lit at the right time, and then you can shoot a gun again. So every single thing in the it's you know, made by a VFX artist, and it's a lot of stuff. And especially with Doom, where the guns are so sophisticated and every gun is weird and different, and each AI is different. It's not something. It's not like we can. It's not procedural. It's not like we can say we did one character, now we can do all of them.
Yeah.
No, each one is completely different set of.
It's a lot of work.
Attacks and set of, you know, like effects for moving and escaping and running and throwing fireballs or throwing knives or whatever. Like every time is different, and it does require a lot of work, and people don't think about it. But
I think that like if you didn't have that subtlety in there, then they would notice it. But because it's there, it's just you appreciate it without even realizing that it's
exactly
even there.
As long as nobody says anything, that means everything is good and in place. Yeah.
Yep. No, it's like working on some movies where you know, they're not visual effects movies, and as long as people say like what visual effects, then you know you did your job right. You know,
that's right.
So that's cool. That's really awesome. Like what were some of the biggest challenges of working on that game?
On Doom. So I mean, there are many aspects. Again, there's like working. So I started with one of the aspects was working with team of VFX artists, which is always in games. It's a quite new thing, because you know, a few years back there was usually one VFX artist in the team, and you just do whatever you want. I mean, you talk with your art director, with your manager, and things go from there. But you kind of boss to yourself. Whereas when you have team of people, that happened first time to me, practically a bigger team on Watch Dogs and now on Doom. It's weird because you get those people who used to work as individuals, you get them together in one group and they have to work like team now. And you know, you get sometimes personalities that they want to, and sometimes I'm like that, they want to do like the coolest thing in a game, like I want to do explosions, and you get 5 people like that in a team and each one wants to do explosions. Wait, so who's going to do the fog? Who's going to do boring effects? And you know, it's a challenge because
well, you used to do environments, you can make the
right. I mean, I'm fine doing whatever now. Seriously.
You don't have any nickname like Explosion Queen?
No, I mean, I do like doing like all the preparation for this stuff, like all the textures and getting them like super nice and polished. But then when it's doing you know, making effects, I'll just let other pick, like, which map do you want to do? This map, okay, I do whatever is left. But that's one of the aspects, that bringing people who used to work separately, alone generally, and now they have to like cooperate as a team. It's very interesting, and interactions in the team, and you know, how to make everybody like happy. Everybody wants to do like the cool effects, and there are also like difficult things to do and more technical. And some people have more technical skills, and some people have less technical skills. So then you're trying to, it's like a puzzle, trying to match to make everybody like happy but challenged enough, and so on. The other aspect is on Doom, one of the hardest things in games, as I said, is like that communication. Like we're trying to communicate with player when we're shooting, when you're successful. So when you shoot a demon, when your targeting is good and so on, then you want to be informed about that. And it's in a game like this, it's very hard because the game is very, very colorful. Every map has different colors. There's a lot of red. There's a lot of yellow. And on top of that, we want to communicate with player when player is, damaged, when player is doing damage.
Yeah, the palette's going to be very distinct.
Yeah, exactly. It's getting very difficult, and to the end, we did realize that some things we can separate, like the green color. Probably Hugo talked about that. Is a very separate thing in the game where it always draws a player towards green color. But then with all the things like blood and red overlays, we always had a little bit the problem where in maps where it's red and yellow, it's harder to see, and we had to use some tricks to make this better. But that's definitely like a challenging thing. And I felt on Doom, that was again one of the first projects where I couldn't, because I joined so late and there was so much work, it was so overwhelming. I couldn't overlook really everything, like all the VFX in the game. And that was the first time that I had to like really rely on other people. Like, okay, you take care of this part, I take care of this part. And no, I'm not going to have time to look at this. Like there's just no way. It's just too much. And it was interesting, and everybody did a very good job. This is one of the things that happens when you work in a good team, that you can trust people. You just communicate what you're going to have time for and what you're not going to have time for, and you trust that whatever they do, if they have 15 minutes to do something, that they're going to bring it to shippable quality, and then if they have more time, they're going to make it better, and they're going to remember to go back to it. But it's already shippable, so it's already okay. So that was challenging because it was stressful, because I couldn't say no, I'm sure everything is fine. Like I couldn't say that ever. So that's definitely a challenge.
It's cool.
Yeah.
Did you get to? I noticed, like when I was there, I met with Kevin Cloud. Like, did you get to interact much with the original team? Because I think there was like two. I know Kevin Cloud came back on as a contractor,
yes.
But any of the original team from Doom?
Yes.
Did you get to work with any of those guys?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Kevin Cloud was my person to go for everything to do with snap maps, and I mean, definitely he's great to work with, very easy to talk with, pretty straightforward. What we needed to do for snap maps. I wish game had more of that, and it was more easy to use, because it was a great idea. And I wish people use it more and try out more things. And we just wanted to package some of the VFX we created for game for people to use with snap maps, so they could just place fires and smokes and jets and other like effects in the map if they wanted to build their own map. So that was pretty cool. I never met other guys. I mean, I'm still working with a few people who I know are from the old team. Jerry Cahan is one of the many years employees there. There are a few very good programmers. Robert Duffy, of course. Now I don't know if I should say that, but also Sean Fleming. He's one of the very old employees, and he's now my boyfriend as well.
Cool, awesome.
Yeah. And Artist-wise, I mean, I did meet a few times Seneca. He's a great artist, but he doesn't work at it anymore because sometimes for coffee or something.
Beer.
So yeah, I never met personally Karnak, unfortunately. Yeah, I know he's now doing the Oculus thing, but yeah, never met him personally. Unfortunately, I miss him by a couple of years.
Yeah. I was curious, like, what's your take on, I've got a pretty big female audience with the podcast, and that's one thing that's come up a lot is A, get more female interviewees on, which I'm trying, and B, you know, just kind of getting some insight being from a female's perspective in the industry, and especially games, because it is quite different to film. Like, have you found it, like, I always find whenever I ask this question, it's kind of rhetorical because it's like, no, it's pretty straightforward and normal. But I don't know, like, what's your perspective of like being a female in the video game industry?
Yeah, as you said, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I don't know why.
I think everyone's expecting me to be like, it's evil and nobody, you know, respects you.
No,
it's the 1960s all over again.
No, I don't know why there are no more women in game industry. I seriously don't know. One of the offices where there was many more, like the percentage of women to men was bigger, was Singapore.
Would have been Montreal?
Yeah, Singapore office. Okay. Yeah, it was very nice. It was definitely studio gets higher standards for dressing up to the office, you know. you get less flip-flops, shorts. I mean, you do get it still, but because women dress up a little bit better, then everybody dress up a little bit better. It's nice.
You're not wearing Metallica shirts. And, you know, socks from 3 days ago.
But other than that, I don't know why. We definitely need more women in the games. I think it's some kind of misunderstanding. I know like really good coders, women coders, and then in productions they really really good usually because they like, you know, people oriented sometimes. So I don't know. And I knew, like, at Ubisoft Montreal, I knew a few very good women art directors as well, associate art directors. I definitely, if any woman listens to that, like, don't be scared. It's seriously, it's not like people think that it's an office made for guys and that's it. Like, it doesn't work that way.
Bunch of fat dudes drinking soda.
No.
Drinking Red Bull at 3 a.m, playing video games.
Absolutely not. It's absolutely civilized. It's like any other office job. It's just much more creative.
I do think that geographically it all varies, and I think it always comes down to personal interest. Like, I'm sure there are certain games, like I know, again, like I'll mention Riot or even Blizzard, like there's a lot of women working at those companies. I think it's because those are the sorts of games that if you are a female and a gamer and an artist, then it's like, oh yeah, I really want to work there. But at the same time, like, I do think that like, whenever, I know I've mentioned Japan a lot, I've only been in Japan a couple of times, but whenever I go to Japan, I get blown away by the amount of women and men. It's like 50-50, because like usually you get a lot of people kind of come up and say hi or autograph or all that kind of stuff when you do talks, and it's like 50-50. It's like men and women, and like I'd never seen that before, where consistently every single time there's like a lot, like there's a huge female audience, I guess, like in video games and film over there. And I think France as well, I've experienced that a lot, where it's pretty balanced. It's probably like 35 or 40%. And again, that's always, you know, been pretty balanced. But like maybe it's I don't know, but yeah, with the US, I definitely, coming from Australia back in the day, where I hate to say it, but it was like you would either be in production or you would be more in the 2D, like compositing or more the art side. It wasn't as many technical jobs. And then coming to the US, like there was a bit more of that. And that's the thing. I think that back then, that was like late 90s, early 2000s. Like, I think that the industry wasn't really well known. It wasn't like you could go to school for this stuff. And even now, like in LA, I meet so many students who are female who are like, yeah, I'm studying this and I'm going off into the industry. So I think it's just more about like, men usually are like, oh, I play video games, I want to go make video games. And bit by bit now it's become like a bit more mainstream and general knowledge that like you can go make a living doing this sort of thing. So it's becoming more widely known and therefore trending for for anyone to go and do something, which I think is cool. But yeah, I agree. I think that it definitely has been a pretty male dominated industry, especially video games, for a long time. And there are some places I go to where I'm like, where are the women?
Yeah.
This is kind of weird. But
it is changing.
Yeah, I mean,
it's changing. I think it's getting better and better. And the same is really with games audience. Like this is, I think, maybe where it's coming from, because like 10 years ago, most people who were playing games were men, and now it's getting like 50% really. So it gets interest from both sides. So the same will be about employment, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's cool. And I guess like one or two more questions, or maybe three or four.
Okay.
And then I'll wrap it up. But I don't know. I guess for you, like, do you review a lot of artists' like portfolios that are applying for work at id and Ubisoft and all these other places?
Most recently at id, yes, we do review a lot of portfolios. Sometimes we ask for artists, and it is good about that. They when somebody is applying for a job, not just VFX artists, but anybody really, any kind of artist, they try to invite to interview multiple people from multiple disciplines. So I get to see a lot of portfolios from the modelers,
cool.
And lighting artists as well, and of course VFX artists as well. So yeah, definitely, I see some good work.
Cool. Well, I guess like, what do you think what makes like a good reel when you're looking at people's work? Like, is there anything that you particularly keep an eye out for that helps you kind of make that decision? Like, yeah, this person's got good strength in what they're applying for.
Yes. So I always look at the portfolio and compare what I see to years of experience, because I don't expect a person who has 2 years of experience to have 5-10 minutes long reel. I expect them to have few screenshots, and hopefully if they pick only the best work, they're gonna be like good screenshots. But if they have only like one personal project and they they just graduated and that personal project looks great and it's like show for 1 minute, this is still good. Yeah. But if they have 10 years of experience, then I would expect them to show a little bit more. Of course, some say they just want to see the latest, the best. But then 10 years of experience, I want to see like history, what they've been working on, kind of. And it doesn't have to be everything, just again, the best bits and pieces. But it's nice to see, okay, this person worked on 10 movies or 5 games or something. And then I also I find quite often some kind of miscommunication on where people on the ArtStation, they post screenshots from game or like a movie or something. And what I understand is you did all of it, and then we ask them like, what did you do in this particular shot? And they would point one thing that is somewhere in the dark corner that I can't even see.
See that spark? No, not that one.
That's always ouch. Okay.
Yeah.
And I understand, because I don't know if that's in film true too, but in games, it's very hard to get a company you're working for release screenshots you want for your portfolio, because they say, we released the game, why do we want to show something what's not directly visible in a game? What's our business in that? And you have to go through PR. It has to be approved. And of course, if game is not released, that's no. You can't show anything you're working on, even privately. You're not supposed to, absolutely.
And it says a lot too if people are like, oh yeah, I can't show this, but let me slip it over to you.
Yeah.
It says so much about okay, well, if you're willing to do that for me, then
you do the same.
Who says that
you're not gonna do the same thing for our
your
company.
liability.
Yeah, exactly. So absolutely don't do that. And we do have understanding for that when you say, oh, I'm working on this amazing project for past 3 years, but I can't show you that much. And it's good to see something, but we don't want to show stuff you can't show, because that's just illegal. So it's the different expectations depending on time you've been in industry. And yeah, I don't usually like too long demo reels. Like very, very long. Like if it's like above 5 minutes, then that's just long. Like I think it should be like compressed, like the best of the best.
I'll interrupt. I'll interrupt for 1 second. I was speaking with Ina Mellor yesterday. She's or was it yesterday? Yeah, it was the day before yesterday. All my days are bleeding into one. She's a character animator, like a really talented character animator, worked for Framestore and all these other really big studios. And one thing that she mentioned, which I'd never heard before, I thought this was brilliant, and that was like, I'll give a bit of prelude to this. Like I noticed with YouTube, the past year, they started doing this new thing where when they're going to show a movie trailer, a movie trailer is usually like 30 to 90 seconds. And before they show a movie trailer, on YouTube, they would actually show like a bumper for the movie trailer showing what the movie trailer is going to be.
Okay.
And that's because like these days, like they've tracked it down to like millennials have gone down to, I think it's now 3 seconds of attention span. It's ridiculous, which is less than Goldfish. I think Goldfish are like 12, but typically it was like 8 seconds a year ago.
Yeah.
It's insane. Yeah. But because of that, essentially before they show a movie trailer, they would show a trailer for the trailer. But it's nuts. But it makes sense in the way that like time is valuable, and especially if you're reviewing, like one of us like reviewing a 5-minute reel, and we have 100 reels to go through. You're going to end up skipping through a lot of stuff, and potentially you might even look at someone who could be great get skipped over because you've just got too much on your plate. And I thought it was really brilliant that she would actually put like a little bit of a preview of like some of the shots, just quick cuts for 5-10 seconds before her reel would start. And I thought that was brilliant. Like I'd never heard of that before in terms of someone doing that for their reel. And in a way, it's great because what it's going to do is it's going to give you not permission, but like incentive to sit down and say, okay, like this has caught my attention. I'm going to give it 100% of my attention because I'm now interested. So it's kind of like selling someone on watching your reel before they've even seen it. And that way, like they're going to say, wow, this looks really cool. They're going to sit down and be like, this one's worth my time. And I thought that was really brilliant. So even if it was 5 minutes at that point, you're like, all right, like this seems like it's worth it. But still, you want to be respectful of people's time and only show the best stuff. And even like one bad thing, I've seen it so many times now, can cost you the job. So, if it's something where you're like my whole philosophy, because I was actually cutting a student reel for my mentorship last night. It's the first one ever. And I was actually going through this myself where I started getting to a point where I'm like, okay, I want to end on like a really good shot. And I was like, well, I don't want there to ever be a shot before that shouldn't be a good shot. So therefore, if there's ever a shot where I'm like, I'm going to make the one next to it the better one because it's the end of the shot, I should get rid of that because every single shot should be strong all the way through. And if there's one thing that you're not happy with, get rid of it. It's better for people to come back saying we want to see more of your work than to come back and say they saw too much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much good advice out there, and as you said, put the best work in. And also people say put the best thing at the start and the best thing at the end, because that's the end impression is going to be people will be left with. And the start, like if it's not interesting, they're just going to stop watching it. And then there's of course thing why I'm doing environments even when I'm doing VFX. I don't want to put VFX on the gray background just doing like a lava or explosion, because if there's another person who can do the same VFX but they put like a nice background in there, they're gonna get the job, not me. So I'm trying to do minimum work to get this to look like it's a shot, it's a something. It can be very simple environment, can be out of focus or whatever, it doesn't matter, but it looks like it's complete shot. Like it looks like I could put that together, I could composite that together, not just render the explosion itself. So I think that's valuable too. And always, I mean, if it's the same as with characters. If you can model character, but if you can also like rig it or animate it, then you win with someone who can just model character. And of course, if you're not very good, like decent animation person, maybe you shouldn't do that. If you have doubts, don't do it because you don't want to put something it's not good. But if it's just something simple, facial animation, like a look or something, that's good. If it's short, it's not going to give it away. Then do it definitely. And then
I guess one thing, sorry to interrupt. I guess just to recap on what you said about, let's say if you know effects, then it's good to know some environments, or it's good to know some lighting, things like that. So kind of find the things that complement what you're doing. So like, let's say knowing particles doesn't mean you're great at effects. I mean, knowing shaders as well is going to make you a much stronger effects person. You know
that's
what I mean?
Right.
So learning the surrounding things, and like I totally believe that whether it's film or anything else, like if you're effects, then you should learn compositing, programming, and lighting. Or if you're an animator, you should learn the rig and the model, or human anatomy. The more that you know of these surrounding areas, the more it's going to strengthen you, because they're whatever the three closest things are to you that directly touch what you're doing. You should learn them, even if it means that you just have a better understanding about like where your stuff's going to go. So if you're doing effects and it's going to get handed off to the environment artist to put into a game, maybe you should learn a little bit about what they do, so that way you can make the work more seamless for them, or give them exactly what they need.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to help everybody. If you like a model character and you know how this is going to be rigged, then you probably model it a little bit different than if you don't have idea about rigging at all. So absolutely helps everybody. And yeah, it's not just for your portfolio, so you better sell things you want to be hired for, but it's also for work in a team. Definitely.
Cool. That's awesome. That's so cool. One or two more questions and we'll start to wrap things up. But I guess like on the hiring aspect, because I think there's just it's a pretty important thing and most of us don't have any clue at all. So, I mean, what do you think is like the number one thing that you guys would look for when hiring someone, or if they don't have it, and that can apply to like ego or anything else as well. Like, is there anything specifically that is either a red flag, or you specifically are looking for in someone when they apply, no matter like what discipline they're coming in as?
So again, there are like few things that go hand in hand together. Definitely there's the practical skills. So like if we hire VFX artists, we want to see demo reel or like our test done, and we want to have thumbs up on that. Like if it's good work, then yeah, we are all happy. But that's not everything. Definitely most of companies I worked on, they looking at personality, how this person fits the team, and
how much they talk.
that too. Mostly is about that balance between, being a rock star and being humble and a team worker, where you want a person who does great job, but they don't like come in and wreck the team and argue with everybody, and they think they are the best in the world and stuff like that, because the morale of whole team will go down and nobody's going to be happy there. So we're definitely looking at people who are like team players, who are humble, who take critique very well. They're happy to reiterate on the thing. This is the whole game industry thing. Like, we reiterate things so many times. You can't get frustrated by it. And it's not about you so many times. It's not about you doing a wrong art, or you don't know how to do good art. It's just about gameplay. It's just about the whole project. And sometimes we just have to change how things work, and that changes like art. So there's nobody's really guilty, it's a dynamic process. And sometimes, technology changes, like engine, and we have to change art because of that too. So you have to be really okay with that. And artists, they sometimes protective, like they did that thing. They invested many hours in producing something. They've been creative. And if somebody just comes and tells them this is not going to work, you have to change it, you never know what kind of response you get there. So we're looking at that definitely, and we interview specifically for that as well.
Maybe that's a good interview test. Is so get someone to do a test and then go make them do another test and then another test and then throw it away every single time and then change direction completely.
I'm sure.
And if they keep their sanity, then it's like, all right,
I'm sure some companies do that. I'm pretty sure they do. But then, yeah, I mean, those people usually interview at multiple places as well. So if there's a candidate you really want to hire, and they've been, for example, recommended by somebody else who then you don't want to scare them off by doing 20 art tests or something like that.
Yeah.
So because they're just gonna go somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you find this is actually a good topic? Like I was doing a Facebook Live session recently, and someone was asking that about doing game tests. Like, do you find as a senior you still get asked to do game tests, or is it more kind of like when you're early into your career that you'll get asked like, hey, we want you to do a quick test to to see how you handle this?
So do you mean like art tests, like
Yeah, like let's say they say, hey, we want you to create this explosion or whatever, a match the direction that we want here.
So that's the thing. I find it more depends. Sometimes it depends how many years of experience person has, and sometimes it depends also on how badly you need that person to start work now, and how many candidates you have on time. Because if you have applying 3 very good candidates and you really can't make your mind up which one is better, send them artists, ask them to do the same thing. You will have something very easy to comparison, and you hire the better one, and that's it.
What if they have like 10 years experience though? Like, do you still think it's acceptable to say to someone like, hey, make a test for
Personally, I don't. I mean, many people would say no at this point.
I do feel it's a little bit like auditioning for a movie or something. It's like, when you get to a certain point, it's you're writing the script with the intent of trying to get someone in. And I don't know, like I was kind of shocked. I had a buddy who went from film to applying at Sony, and this guy has got 12 years experience. He's a supervisor. He's worked on some amazing stuff. And they asked him to do a test. And I was blown away by that. And like, I don't think that any of us should ever say like, I'm too good to do a test. But at the same time, I always look at where my time can go. And like every single day, I got to look at my to-do list and say, okay, if I can only get 3 things done, what are they going to be? And for me to look at a test, like if this is going to take me like half a day or a day, and if I'm not being paid for it, like how can I
justify?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think this is the thing. Like if you have candidate that has 10 years of experience and they applying for job, it's pretty much guaranteed that they applying for the same job at different studios. And if you don't want that candidate, ask them to do the test. You will go somewhere else where they don't ask you the test. The only case when that might work, I guess, it's if you really want to hire people who apply to your studio because like they want to work there really badly, so they don't apply anywhere else. Like they're fans and like they just want to do work at that one place, and that's their dream job, and they're not going to apply, and they're going to do anything it takes to get the job. And I don't know if there are people with 10 years experience who say that, but maybe. And then, you just give them tests and they do amazing tests. Probably takes like half a year or something because they really want to make sure they get the job and everybody's happy. But
Did you say half a year?
Well, if they really want to make it amazing, you can spend those artists. You can do it fast, but then you can spend some time on it.
Wait, are you serious? Like a half a year?
No, I never spent that much. I mean, I spent
That's like half a day.
No, that wouldn't work either. I don't think it would work for games. Usually it's a couple of weeks or something like that because especially if they like have employment, then it's spare times, weekends, and in the evenings or something. So it's like a couple of weeks, and but like I could say I spent like half a year on personal projects, so I'm just like comparing to that. If I wanted to do something amazing that looks awesome and it's my way, then sure. But I agree. Like for that amount of experience, I wouldn't ask that person to do something additionally because they might just turn around and leave.
Well, I will say just to, I'm more just asking as a question. I guess for me, like you're right. If I really wanted the job, then I don't think it's a good standard practice to get someone who's more senior level and saying, because I'm always going to worry about losing them, basically saying, hey, come do a test. But at the same time, if they really want the job, that might be a way to say, like, look, this is to prove that you're really committed, and this is, yeah, basically you're going to put in the extra time and stand out. But at the same time, that's why, like, you can do, and I've done this before, doing paid tests for a few people, where it's more like, let me get you to do something, just a quick thing for a couple of days, and I'll pay you for your time. At least that way I can figure out whether or not, and usually that comes down to the last like 2 or 3 candidates. And that way, it's not like you're getting everyone to do it as a paid test. It's more, all right, these are the final 3, we'll pay you, $2,000 or whatever to go off and do something, come back in a few weeks. And that way it's kind of like that they're going to put in the time to do it properly, rather than like, well, this is all I had in between kids and work and whatever else, So yeah, but that's cool. And I guess for you, like, how do you still find time to learn new tools and to grow, like watch training and do all that, or do you just mainly focus on it's R&D time at work and I'll study there? Like, do you still take time out to better your skills?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the beauty of game industry, is that with every project, we get like super busy by the end of the project, but then after shipping, we have like normal working hours, actually, like, which is really nice. So you can go home and learn new things. And actually, I mean, it does happen that people do R&D at work too, and learn new software, and we get training too. We get people, coming and doing training with us, which is very nice. Now I'm learning Houdini. I'm trying to learn Houdini for past few months. It's been very interesting, right? And I definitely want to stick with it. And we really want to use it for production and stuff. So I definitely find it nice when you find time to do your own personal project, because you learn different kind of things when you do that in comparison to what you learn at work, because you're reaching so much through there. You're doing different kind of things. As you say, it's like R&D. It's not the same as at work. At work, we in 80% cases we rely on just doing what we know how to do. Whereas, like when I'm home, I can say, I'm going to do this insane, crazy thing I don't know how to do, and somehow I'm going to learn how to do it. And then when I'm done with it, I know how to do it. So I'd learn, like 100% of new thing, which is really nice.
That's awesome. Is there any resources you recommend for people to learn effects, or any advice you want to give them?
So when I was learning, the great resource were the Pete Draper books. I know you had already interview with him. That was a good interview. These were great books. I still have them because they like some of the best books I ever seen. Like tutorials are amazing.
That's cool.
Then when I was learning film effects, I actually watched all your tutorials. They're great. I like that you had that approach with teaching, where you did like projects, so how to do Burning Man or something, film effects, but then you also went in and did literally slider by slider, like property by property, what it does. So I got like both sides of this piece of software, and at the end I felt like I really know what I'm doing, which is great. Cool. I mean, now I'm learning Houdini, and there are like more and more resources. Mainly, I would just go to Side Effects software tutorials website, and they have all the tutorials over there, and there are tutorials for free, there are tutorials you can buy. So depending on your budget, you can go from $20 per tutorial to like workshops or something, $700, $800. Yep. But there are free tutorials too. It's a good start. Side Effects does a really good job, and they have a lot of customer support, which is really good. I find the customer support be like one of the best comparison to all other software. It's really great. So you can just ask question on forum, and somebody is going to jump in and reply as well.
That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, actually, touching base on that Fume Effects Core Fundamentals DVD, that was kind of funny, because I originally set out like, okay, I'm going to go and make like a really thorough training DVD on that subject. But initially it was going to be like, all right, what are all the advanced subjects and go make that. And then it wasn't until the very last minute I decided to scrap everything, and I was like, no, I want this to be as thorough as possible. And so I ended up throwing away everything, and I went back and I literally went through feature by feature, slider by slider.
Awesome.
And it took me a month of 20-hour days. Like, it was insane, but like I still feel really like, even though it's out of date now, I would never. I'd recommend it to people just because it's a good resource to get.
You need to do new one, and ideally in Houdini, just like node by node explain that way.
I've wanted to I wanted to do some stuff on Pyro effects for a while, and also Houdini's flip solver. There's like a lot of great features in there. Houdini's kind of interesting because I do have a lot of people who have made the switch over, and then after a while they're like, yeah, I really love Houdini, but it's taking me 3 times as long to get anything done, and I need to get stuff out really quick. So it's kind of mixed, but I do really love Houdini, like, for the fact that out of the box you can do a lot, and if you want to get super technical, it's limitless in terms of what you can plug in and get stuff done. And so I definitely would love to do, when I have time, some like public free training on Houdini.
Yeah,
for sure.
so far I didn't hit any technical limitation with Houdini. Like anytime I work with Maya Max, I'm to the point like, oh, okay, like without like Python scripting or something, I can't like instance lights or do something weird I want to do. Whereas in Houdini, I can so far I can do anything. The only limit is my skill. So sometimes I have to like ask and get someone to help me. But other than that, it's awesome.
Well, with an engineer background, I hope you can kind of break through those barriers. That's super cool. Like, and yeah, thanks again for taking the time to do this. It's been a lot of fun.
Thanks for the invitation. It's a pleasure.
Okay, so I want to thank Wirginia again for taking the time to do this. It was really fun to catch up. It's been a long time, and just talk about a lot of this, as well as just all the subjects that we did get into, because there was a lot. I think this is really insightful into both a lot of the mindset of the amazing talented team at id, especially the effects team, and everyone, what they're doing. I found this to be really cool. At the same time, we have more episodes with id Software coming up, so it's going to be the creative director, Hugo Martin, as well as Jason Martin, no relation, who is the creature lead there, I believe. And just kind of both of these talking about a lot of stuff. I found these to be really cool. I've kind of used this as an excuse with Wirginia to talk a lot more about Doom, just because with Jason's and with Hugo's, we definitely talk Doom, but we also talk classic Doom, and we also talk a lot about their art background, about Blur, about a lot of different stuff. So these episodes are going to come up pretty soon as well. I'm just getting final sign-off from ZeniMax about these, and they'll be out pretty soon too. I have to double check, but I believe next episode is actually with my buddy Dennis that I mentioned before, who is one of the senior character artists at Bethesda, who is responsible for projects like Skyrim, Fallout 4, and a lot of other cool stuff. We talk about a lot of cool things. He's definitely getting into a lot of 3D printing, so if you're not aware, we've actually been doing a lot of Facebook Live stuff together, which has been really cool, showing off some of the robots and other stuff he's been printing, so taking things from ZBrush all the way through into doing 3D printing and even rigging up. We did a Facebook Live episode where he showed off his robot that he was firing, like a machine gun pellet gun thing. It was freaking awesome. But we talk a lot about his direction as an artist, as well as just a lot of cool stuff that we kind of nerd out about. It's a lot of fun. That episode will be up next if you want to check it out. And in the meantime, make sure you get that training, because it's only available for about 2 weeks. So allanmckay.com/fireball. It'll be in the show notes, as well as links to the Facebook Live stuff I'm doing. Lots of cool stuff coming up, so make sure to check it out. I'm also going to be doing a Facebook Live later this week, which will be related to scripting. I thought it'd be really fun to actually showcase how to build some effects tools. So, whether you're in effects or not, this is more about how to build tools. But if you are in effects, this is specifically tailored to you. But either way, it's more about overcoming the mindsets of scripting's not for me, scripting's too hard, whatever it might be, because that's all bullshit. I can show you in minutes how to code and how to get up and running, where before it might seem like this really difficult thing. And that's because typically you're going to people who know math, who know coding, who assume that we all think that way, and they're regurgitating the stuff that they do and the way that they think, and usually that's what really alienates us. So for me, I found, and I've gotten men, women, animators, traditional artists, designers, anyone and any excuse you want to build. Like people, myself, I never went to school. I dropped out in like grade 9. I barely went since I was like 8 years old, really. So I never knew math or any of that stuff. But I don't need any of that to be able to code, and I want to be able to showcase as an artist how to code as an artist, and really kind of change your mindset from, that's not for me, I'm not a math head, or this wouldn't, be valuable to me, to more importantly learning that you can automate everything. If you could reprogram the Cinema 4D or Max or Maya, Houdini, whatever you use, to be exactly built for you and how you think and how you work, what would you want it to do? Because that's the Pandora's box I want to open up for you, is to get a taste of how easy and yet powerful this sort of thing is, and how it speeds up every single day of what you do. Okay, so that'll be in the show notes, as well as a link to Facebook, hopefully, and make sure to check that out too, because I'm going to be doing a Facebook Live on that pretty soon, I think later this week. So there's lots of stuff like that. Definitely, if you have any comments or questions, please leave a comment in the show notes as well. So allanmckay.com/81. I will be back next week with Dennis, and we'll rock out some really cool stuff. And allanmckay.com/fireball. All right, guys, rock on.